I am DM Zone. This is Gamers Oasis. Let's get into it. Okay, guys, we're going to talk about the sleep spell. The sleep spell, finally, is a spell that we're going to talk about that pretty much everyone feels is the best spell in the game for low levels. There's some argument to that, but I would probably say that it is probably one of, if not the best spells in the game. There are some situational times when it is completely useless. However, those times are pretty rare and infrequent, and I think that it's worth keeping around. Even into the later levels when you're higher level and you're not running into many creatures that it would affect, because there's not a whole lot of other first level options that do as much for as little, if that makes sense. Alright, so let's break it down and talk about what exactly it does. This spell affects between 2 and 16 hit dice worth of creatures. It doesn't matter what level you are, it's always the same. You find this by rolling 2d8 and then totaling those 2 dice up, and that's how many hit dice it affects. So, in original Dungeons and Dragons, there are creatures that are going to be 2 hit dice plus 1. That means that they actually count as 3 hit dice. That's important to know because it is a pretty common thing to run into. So let's say you're fighting an Orc Gladiator and it's 2 plus 1 hit dice and it counts as 3. You would have fewer of those you could put to sleep than you would if you had just a 2 hit dice creature. That plus 1 is significant, and that's why that plus 1 is usually given to the more martial classes and less often given to things like the magic user or thief, and later when that one came out and that type of stuff. The spell also only works up to 3 hit dice, so a 3 plus 1 hit dice creature cannot be affected, at least not in groups. If you're targeting a single character, it will affect up to a 4 plus 1 hit dice creature. Now, it won't affect a 4 plus 2, which is a thing that could also be found, and it will affect a 3 or a 3 plus, or it'll affect a 1 hit dice if you misjudge the situation and the guy or the creature is not as hard as you thought it was. It'll affect all of that. However, it will not affect anything higher than that. So there is a level cap to how often this spell can be useful. But since creatures didn't level per se, and they just added more or they became a harder creature, it affects goblins or orcs. Basically the same. And there are certain creatures that are literally 4 plus 1 hit dice. And once you know what those are, you know that spell will affect that creature. Okay. So let's say I roll 2d6 and I get max dice. I roll a 16. I go up against a whole group of gladiators, orc gladiators. I get 5 of them affected by the spell. 5 times 3, because of 3 hit dice, 2 plus 1, is going to be 15 hit dice out of the 16. The 16th hit dice doesn't affect any of them because there's not any 1 hit dice creatures in there. That means that it fades away and does nothing. Now, if you want to be theatrical, maybe dramatic, you could have like one orc that starts to fall and you're like, yes. And then it pulls through, gets like angry and then charges. And you pick a random target and it looks more angry and all that. It's not more angry. It's just you add in some drama to it and showing that you couldn't affect any more hit dice than what you affected. For a person who's really paying attention. Saying the quiet part out loud, shall we say. I know that's very specific, but that just is what it is with this thing. Okay, so lastly, there was a clarification in Supplement 1 Greyhawk. It's near the back of the book and this type of thing, but in there it talks about some rewording of some of the things, so it's a little bit clearer what hit dice it affects, how it affects those type of things. And it also mentions something that was probably well known at the game table and by the playtesters, and that is that it does not affect undead. And I think that's pretty evident looking forward that it never should have affected undead. And I think they knew that back then. It was just an oversight. So anyways, guys, I'm going to be doing more videos like this. I hope you guys like this. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments down below. And then let me know what you want. And if I get to it and I haven't made the video already, I'll go ahead and throw you a shout out in my video. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Keep rolling those dice. Bye.